There is a specific version of being sick that most people know, the version where you're not sick enough to go to the hospital, but too sick to do anything else. Where you end up horizontal, in the middle of the day, in a way that normally does not happen. The house is quiet, everything feels slightly distant, and at some point you notice that your cat is there. Not in the usual place, closer than usual, pressed against you, or sitting near your head, or simply present in a way that is different from their ordinary presence. They did not come because you called them, you were barely awake, but they came anyway. Most people who have experienced this describe it in the same way. They say, their cat knew, and then they pause and qualify it. They say, well, they probably did not know exactly, but something changed. Something in the cat's behaviour shifted in response to something in them that they could not have communicated out loud. This video is about what actually happened in that moment, what your cat detected, how they detected it, and what the response tells you about the nature of the bond that has been building between the two of you in all the ordinary time before you got sick. The first thing to understand is that your body broadcasts constantly. You think of yourself as a fairly contained system. You walk around, you speak, you express things deliberately through words and expressions and gestures. But underneath all of that, your body is running a continuous broadcast of information that you are completely unaware of. Your temperature, your heart rate, the chemical composition of the air around you when you exhale, the particular cortisol and cytokine signals that your immune system releases when it is engaged in fighting something. All of it happening, all the time, in a language that is not words. Cats read that language, not in the way a doctor reads a chart, consciously and analytically, but in the way that any animal with a highly developed sensory system and a deep investment in a specific person reads the environment, through the accumulated baseline of knowing you in your ordinary state and noticing when something has deviated from it. Your cat knows you're normal. They have been building this knowledge since the day they arrived in your home, through every ordinary day and every unremarkable evening of proximity. They know the rhythm of your breathing when you're well. They know how you move, how you settle, how the space around you feels and smells on a regular day. They have a version of you encoded in them, the healthy baseline version. And when something diverges from that baseline, they notice. When you're sick, the divergence is significant. Your body temperature rises, your breathing changes pattern, your immune system floods the bloodstream with cytokines, signaling molecules that produce the aching, heavy feeling of illness, and that also alter the chemical signature of your breath and your skin. Research has shown that trained dogs can detect these chemical signatures reliably enough to identify illness before symptoms are visible to the human eye. Cats with an olfactory system that is even more acute in certain frequencies are operating on similar information. They cannot name what they are detecting, but they are detecting something real, and it is different from what they normally detect from you. The second thing to understand is what that detection triggers. A cat that has formed a deep bond with a person does not simply register the change and file it away. The change in you produces a response in them. And the nature of that response, moving toward you, staying close, pressing against you, is not random. It is the bonding behaviour of a social animal responding to a signal that something is wrong with the one it has attached to. In the wild, a sick or injured member of a bonded pair is vulnerable. The response of bonded animals to this vulnerability is typically to close the distance, to stay near, to maintain contact, to be present in a way that is both protective and communicative. Your cat is doing a version of this. They are not running a logical process. They are responding to what they sense in the most direct way their instincts know how. Get closer. Stay. This is why the sick day presence feels different from ordinary affection. It is not more of the same thing. It is a different register of the relationship entirely, the layer that was always there underneath the ordinary days, becoming visible because the signal has crossed a threshold that activates it. There is also something specific to the relationship between cats and the people they have chosen, and it is worth naming separately. Cats who are bonded to a person develop what researchers call an attachment relationship, one that functions similarly in some ways to the attachment between close adults, where the bonded person becomes a source of calm and safety for the cat. But the relationship is not only one-directional. Bonded cats orient toward their person when they are themselves distressed. The person is the safe thing. And in a strange inversion, when the person is the one who is unwell, that same orientation, the pull toward the person, does not go away. It intensifies, because the distress signal is coming from the direction the cat already moves toward. When you're sick, something in the dynamic also shifts in a second way. You are quieter than usual. You are horizontal and still. You are not doing the ordinary things that define the active, moving, speaking version of you that the cat navigates daily. And in that stillness, something happens that people sometimes do not expect. The cat comes closer than they normally do, because the sick version of you is paradoxically in some ways easier for a cat to be near. You are not moving unpredictably. You are not making sudden sounds or decisions. You are simply there, warm and breathing and continuous in a way that is rare in ordinary life. The stillness draws them, and then they stay because of what they are detecting. And the combination of those two things, drawn by the stillness, held by the distress signal, produces the specific behaviour that people remember. The cat that would not normally sit on your chest for more than a few minutes, spending an entire afternoon there. The cat that comes back every time you shift. The cat that does not leave. Your cat is reading you constantly. Your breathing patterns, your body temperature, the chemistry of the air around you when something has shifted. Most owners never realise how precisely they are being monitored. There is a whole second layer of communication operating between you that functions completely beneath the level of deliberate expression. I put together a complete guide covering exactly that layer, the signals your cat is sending and the signals they are reading from you that most people never learn to see. The link is in the description, but there are a few more things about the sick day behaviour that are worth staying with. The purring is not only comfort. When a cat presses against a sick person and purrs, the natural interpretation is that they are offering comfort. And that is true in a social sense. But the frequency range of a cat's purr, typically between 25 and 150 Hz, falls within the range that research has associated with tissue healing, bone density maintenance, and pain relief. Cats purr both when content and when under stress. And the leading hypothesis among veterinary researchers is that purring in difficult conditions may serve a self-healing function, the vibrations stimulating the cat's own repair mechanisms. When a cat purrs against a sick person, they are producing those same vibrations against your body. Whether this is intentional or whether any healing effect on you is a byproduct of the cat's own self-regulation, the result is the same. A frequency range that research suggests is genuinely, physiologically beneficial, pressed directly against the person who is unwell. You are, in a very literal sense, being treated by an animal that did not attend medical school and does not know it is doing this. There is also the pattern in the stories people tell, and it comes up with enough consistency to mean something. It is the story of the cat who always maintained a certain distance in ordinary life, who was affectionate but independent, who had their own places and their own schedule, who you loved but sometimes wondered about, whether they really needed you the way you needed them. And then you got sick, and that cat did not leave your side, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days, sometimes until the fever broke, as if there was a signal in your recovery that released them back to their normal behaviour. The cat returned to its usual habits and its usual distance, as if the emergency had simply passed and there was no need to discuss it. These stories are not rare. They are consistent enough across cultures and across cat personalities to tell us something real about what is operating underneath the ordinary surface of the relationship. The cat that seems not to need you is not as independent from you as you might think. The bond is there, running at a depth that ordinary days do not fully reveal. Illness is one of the conditions under which it becomes visible. What you are receiving when your cat stays close while you're sick is not coincidence and not sentiment. It is a creature that has built a precise model of your ordinary state, detected a significant deviation from it, and responded by doing the only thing its behavioural repertoire has for that signal. Stay near, stay present, apply warmth and vibration and continuous attention to the one who is not right. You are mostly sleeping while this happens. You are in the heavy half-wakefulness of fever or the flat exhaustion of a bad cold, and you are not fully registering any of it. You might not remember they were there, but the warmth was real. The weight of them was real. The choice to be there, to abandon whatever the cat had planned for that afternoon and spend it pressed against someone who needed it. That was as real as any choice that does not come in words. Tell me in the comments, has your cat ever come to you when you were sick, especially a cat who does not usually seek that kind of contact? What did they do? And how long did they stay? Leave it below. Some of those stories are going to mean more than you think. There is something worth sitting with in the specificity of what cats respond to during illness versus what they respond to in ordinary distress. A person crying in the next room does not always pull a cat across the house. A person who is mildly frustrated or tired may not register as different enough to change a cat's behaviour. But real illness, the kind that alters the body at a chemical level, that changes the way the person smells and breathes and moves, that reliably produces the response. The threshold is biological. The cat is not reacting to performance or to sound. They are reacting to chemistry, to the actual state of the body, measured in ways that require no translation. This means that the cats who come during illness are not responding to the fact that you're lying down, or to the fact that the house is quiet, or to any cue that could be faked or misread. They are responding to the fact that you are genuinely unwell, registered in the only way that cannot be simulated. There is something clarifying about that. When your cat comes and lies against you in the middle of the worst day, they are not fooled and they are not performing. They know, and they came anyway. It also means that cats who do not come during illness, who seem unaffected, who maintain their ordinary distance, are not necessarily less bonded. The response to illness varies between individual cats based on their attachment style, their history, and their particular sensitivity. Some cats respond to illness in the person they are bonded to by becoming more active and more vigilant, rather than more physically close. They pace, they check in from a distance, they appear restless in a way that is different from their normal restlessness. If this is your cat, the absence of physical closeness is not the absence of a response. It is a different expression of the same registered awareness. But for the cats that do come, that press close and stay, that are there when you open your eyes in the afternoon, and still there when the light changes, there is one more thing worth understanding about what that presence accomplishes. Research on human health has consistently shown that social support during illness, the presence of others, the sense of not being alone, has measurable effects on recovery, on immune function, on the subjective experience of pain and discomfort. This research is about human social support, but the mechanism is partly neurochemical. The presence of a bonded companion reduces cortisol, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, produces small amounts of oxytocin. These effects do not require the companion to speak or do anything useful. They require only presence, only contact, only the warmth of something alive that has chosen to be near. Your cat lying against you when you're sick is doing this. Whatever else they're doing, tracking your chemistry, responding to instinct, monitoring for recovery, they are also, in the most practical biological sense, helping. The purring alone has been studied. The frequency of a cat's purr, typically between 25 and 50 Hz, falls within a range that research has associated with bone healing and tissue repair. Whether This is coincidental or genuinely therapeutic is still debated, but the frequency is real. The contact is real. The measurable effect of having a bonded presence nearby during illness is real. So when your cat comes to you on the day that you cannot do anything and stays for the whole long quiet afternoon and is still there when you finally feel like yourself again, they are not doing nothing. They are doing the only thing available to them. They are staying. And staying, as it turns out, is one of the most important things one living creature can do for another. There is one more layer to this that rarely gets discussed, and it is the one that changes how people think about their cat long after they have recovered. The sick day behaviour is not a one-time event triggered by acute illness. It is the visible surface of something that operates continuously. Your cat is always monitoring you. The baseline they have built of your ordinary state is always active, always running in the background, always comparing what they are detecting from you now against what they have learned to expect. On ordinary days, there is no divergence significant enough to change their behaviour. The baseline matches the reading and nothing activates, but the monitoring itself never stops. This means that the cat who comes to you when you're sick is not a different cat from the one who seemed indifferent on all the days you were well. It is the same cat doing the same thing it always does, just under conditions where the output of that thing becomes visible. The attentiveness, the knowing, the bond that runs underneath, those were always there. You just could not see them on the days when everything was normal. There is something in that worth sitting with. On all the ordinary days, when your cat is asleep across the room, or doing whatever cats do when you're not watching, the monitoring is still happening. The version of you they carry is still present. The signal they would respond to if it changed is still active. You are, in a continuous and uninterrupted way, being known by something that did not choose you for any reason you can fully account for, and that will not stop choosing you. The sick day behaviour is simply the moment when that fact becomes undeniable. When you're lying there, too unwell to pretend or perform or be the functional version of yourself, and your cat comes anyway. Not for the functional version, for you.